Dr. Joel Fuhrman is a board-certified physician whose groundbreaking work has been acclaimed as a medical breakthrough for weight loss, disease reversal, and prevention.
The American diet today has 62% of calories from processed foods. How many of you would like a promise that you don't have to have a heart attack when you get older?
He's a New York Times best-selling author and a widely published nutritional researcher.
And I see people putting this into practice every day, transforming their lives. Never forget that your health is your greatest wealth.
Join Dr. Joel Fuhrman now and learn the 3 steps to incredible health.
Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to be here and have the opportunity to teach you how to achieve incredible health. I'm Dr. Joel Fuhrman. I'm a board-certified family physician, nutritional researcher, and my life's work is nutritional science. And I have a promise that you can lose weight as fast or faster than gastric bypass surgery. But unlike surgery, the results are permanent. In only 3 steps. 1, learn about the power of micronutrients. 2, eliminating food addictions. And 3, superfoods for pleasure and health. So look, what is incredible health? Let's describe it, okay? Incredible health means living your life into your later years, feeling great, being healthy, not being medically dependent, being able to walk and be mobile and not being in pain, be able to wake up every day excited about life, not going into doctors with emergencies, not having your full mental faculties intact, right? And your full physical powers that you had when you were young. We're talking about not having heart attacks and not having strokes, not getting demented, right? How many of you would like a promise that you don't have to have a heart attack when you get older? That you don't have to have a stroke? That you don't have to get demented? I don't know about you, but I don't want to be running for a bus worried about having a heart attack. I want to know that I can't have a heart attack. Am I making some incredible radical claim? Is this incredible? Am I just a total crazy guy, saying that isn't heart disease isn't just the inevitable consequence of aging? Don't we just all get it as we get older? Well, you know what? Almost every person in America gets it as they get older. When we do autopsy studies on people in America, by the time they're 40 years old, if they die in a car accident or drowning, we look at their heart and we find that almost all Americans have atherosclerosis, more than 95% by the age of 45. But it doesn't have to happen to you. I'll tell you how I know this is true. Number 1, there are what's called epidemiologic studies where they look at populations from around the world. And they find, first they look at primitive populations, eating simple, natural diets, where people don't have heart disease. Then there are studies done where we study 100,000 rural Chinese who live in rural areas, who grow a lot of their own food and eat natural diets, and they haven't found 1 heart attack in that group. And look at the Framingham study done in Boston, where they followed people in this country, in New England, followed them, thousands of people, followed for 40 years. And what they find? That people who had an ideal weight, who didn't smoke, whose cholesterol was below 150 with a favorable cholesterol, they didn't have heart disease. Not 1 heart attack death was recorded for that group who had those favorable risk factors. I can say this because as a physician, I've been in practice for 20 years, and I see patients every single day with advanced heart disease, people who've had heart attacks in their past. And you know what? These people get well, their chest pains go away, they lose the weight, their blood pressure comes back to normal, and they don't have heart disease anymore. Charlotte weighed 260 pounds. She lost 130 pounds. Now she weighs 130. That's a loss of half her body weight. But the weight loss isn't even the story here. The story is Charlotte was in a wheelchair after a stroke. She couldn't even walk. And she had diabetes requiring multiple medications. Charlotte is not diabetic anymore. She has no diabetes, and that means that her blood sugar is normal, below 100, without medication. I tell my diabetic patients, Let's not control your diabetes. If we're controlling it, that means you still have diabetes. We want to get rid of your diabetes. Who wants to stick themselves with needles and take drugs the rest of their life? And most of these diabetic medications cause weight gain and make you become more diabetic the more you take the medication. How many of you want to be around when you're older and in great health so you can run around with your children and grandchildren, so you can enjoy your life in your golden years, right? Isn't that something you want? Yeah. Don't you want incredible health? The problem in America is 27% of Americans die of heart disease. About 23% die of cancer. 6% die of strokes. It doesn't have to happen. Advancements in nutritional science enable a solution, and we can put this science right in your kitchen so you can do it. Let me explain to you some of the science here and how this works. All right, a little bit about nutrients, because there are two types of nutrients. There's macronutrients and micronutrients. Now, macro means big, and macronutrients are those big nutrients, the ones that contain calories, fat, carbohydrate, and protein. You guys have heard of that, right? Yeah. Fat, carbohydrate, protein. Those are the things Americans eat too much of, too many calories. But what we don't eat enough of is the micronutrients. The micronutrients do not contain calories. Those are things like vitamins, like minerals, phytochemicals, things that don't contain calories the body needs for good health. In 1930, scientists discovered about 14 vitamins and 16 minerals. And people said, wow, this is great. We got health in a bottle here. We can add thiamine and riboflavin into Cocoa Puffs and vitamin C into Kool-Aid. We could take these things and we could win the war on cancer and stop people from dying so much. By 1935, the vitamin industry was already a billion-dollar industry. But the most fascinating thing happened in the history of nutritional science, because between 1935 and 2005, during that 70-year stretch, cancer rates went up every single year for 70 years in a row. Incredible. We saw a concomitant rise in diabetes, obesity, right? Autoimmune conditions, allergies. Boy, the diseases just were flourishing. But cancer rates, not 1 year did it even dip, just kept going higher and higher and higher and higher. And it wasn't until about 20 years ago where scientists first recognized that vitamins and minerals were not the major micronutrient load that's in food. In other words, vitamins and minerals are a smaller percent of the total of micronutrients that are in food. The major source of micronutrients are called phytochemicals, and there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of them, and they haven't all been discovered yet. So what I'm saying here is that every strawberry has about 700 nutrients in it, not just 31. Every piece of broccoli has about 1,000 different nutrients in it. And the body needs them. They're not optional. The American diet today has 62% of calories from processed foods. 62% from processed foods. Those are foods like pasta, bread, salad oil, mayonnaise, donuts, cookies, crackers, rice cakes, breakfast bars, chips, pretzels, soft drinks. Look, we're eating foods that just give us calories. They just give us macronutrients without any micronutrient load. When we take in macronutrients with no micronutrient load, the body builds up free radicals. Those are toxic. They cause inflammation in the body. And we utilize our reserve of micronutrients to try to process those empty calories. And then more than 25% of the American diet are animal products. Animal products like meat and chicken and dairy products, they don't have antioxidants and phytochemicals in them either. Only 10% of what Americans consume are produce like fruits and vegetables. Half of that is white potato products, counted in the 10%. That means that French fries, potato chips, mashed potatoes, all that, and that's half of what Americans are consuming, counting as vegetables. And white potatoes don't have much micronutrient density. They're one of the lowest nutrient-containing vegetables. We're just eating a diet that's not designed for the human species. I'm saying here that a piece of chicken is just like a piece of white bread. Or a piece of chicken is just like some pasta. Why am I saying a piece of bread and a piece of chicken are the same thing? No micronutrients. There's no significant micronutrient load. Because that's what I'm saying. I'm saying a pre-processed food, like a soft drink or a piece of white bread, right, doesn't have antioxidants like vitamin E and vitamin C and vitamin K and folate and the bioflavonoids and the lignins and all those phytochemicals that fight cancer, they're not in the processed foods. They've been processed out, right? And animal products is not a source of phytochemicals and antioxidants. It's a source of some vitamins and minerals and proteins and fats, but it doesn't give us those cancer-fighting nutrients that we're just not consuming. Both the animal product and the processed foods don't have a significant micronutrient load, so where are we getting it from, right? And I'm also saying the micronutrient deficits leads to increased body weight. It drives your appetite up, increases your hunger. It means more diabetes, more heart disease, and more cancer. The extra fat on your body drives diseases like cancer and heart disease. You want to live disease-free? You want to live longer? You want to sleep better? You want to be happier? You want to have more energy? You want to enjoy your life more? You want to maintain your fitness? You want to stop this idea of looking for a diet, right? You have to understand the secret power of micronutrients and how micronutrients take away your hunger, your desire to overeat, and they help the fat melt off your body. Consider this equation, H equals N over C, my health equation, right? Nutritional scientists all over the world are using H equals N over C, where H, health, means your healthy life expectancy. Not just how long you're going to live, but the quality of your life in your later years. And that's predicted now by N over C, N divided by C, the micronutrient per calorie density of your diet. That means how long you're going to live and the quality of your life in your later years is proportional to how many foods you can consume that have a high micronutrient load. You want them to have high micronutrients per calorie. And the more foods you consume that have lots of micronutrients per calorie, the more it suppresses your appetite, lessens your hunger, and makes you feel great. Let's look at this nutrient density line. Because what I did is I added up the vitamins and minerals, the phytochemicals, those powerful anti-cancer substances that we find in foods like mushrooms and onions and berries. Well, I added up those nutrients and put it together and had some negatives of things that are bad for you and added some negative factors so I could score food on a nutrient density line. And you could see by looking at my nutrient density line what foods have the highest level of micronutrients so you know what foods I want you to eat more of. I want you to try to eat a lot of those foods, okay? So I'm saying here that when it comes to green vegetables don't have twice as much nutrients as, let's say, a piece of bread or a piece of chicken. They don't have 10 times as much. They have 100 times more micronutrients than those foods do. 100 times as much. You getting this? Yeah. You got to get this because your life depends on it. Your life depends on understanding this information. You know why? You graduate from elementary school, junior high school, college, professional school, even medical school. And the most important thing you could have learned to control your health destiny, you don't even learn anything about, right? Let's look at mushrooms for a minute. Mushrooms they're a superfood. They contain something called angiogenesis inhibitors. Ever hear of that before? No. The word angiogenesis means the growth of blood vessels. So an angiogenesis inhibitor, it means it restricts the growth of blood vessels. Okay? Now, this seems counterintuitive. Why would we want to stop blood vessels from growing? But we want to stop them from growing abnormally. Because what happens is when we eat a lot of sugar, when we put fat on our body, it pumps up insulin, and insulin promotes the growth of blood vessels. And you know, fat on the body is like a tumor, and it secretes hormones and it causes inflammation. It's bad to have fat on your body. And the fat on the body signals blood vessels to grow into it, so it can be fueled, so it can get oxygen and nutrients and nourishment to keep it growing and to keep it surviving. When you eat foods like mushrooms and onions, they have angiogenesis inhibitors that inhibit the growth of the blood vessels into the fat to stop the fat from growing and to cause the fat to shrink and atrophy. Over here we have a guy, Jim. Jim is eating 2,000 calories a day. And Jim's not overweight. He's great weight. But Bob, on the other hand, who also eats 2,000 calories, is overweight. They're both eating 2,000 calories. Why is one good weight and one not a good weight? The reason is it's not all calories in, calories out. The secret here is that you have to eat these nutritional factors that prevent fat from building up. And when fat builds up outside of your abdominal wall, you could pinch it, right? You could pinch the fat and press it together. It's not only outside your abdominal wall. As I'm pinching this fat, there's just as much fat inside the abdominal wall that you can't pinch. When you have that big roll of fat out here, your body's swelled on the inside, and you have fat under the abdominal wall in with your organs, surrounding your heart, squeezing your liver, your kidneys, your adrenal glands, around your pancreas. The fat is all over the inside of your body, places the fat should not be. Outside fat means inside fat, and that's what increases the risk of diabetes, of heart disease, of cancer. Sure, you want to get rid of, so you want your whole body to shrink down, right? When you do that, and when you do it while utilizing the power of micronutrients, you've got a better memory. You don't lose your memory with aging. You don't get joint pain. You don't have arthritis, headaches, allergies, asthma, skin rashes, depression. You don't have to have those things because a lot of those diseases occur because of micronutrient deficits and poor nutrition, right? You don't have to be sick all the time. And this is not just about losing weight. It's about earning great health and feeling great and living life to the fullest. You can reverse disease. You could add 20 or more years to your life. It's not as hard as you think. It's easy. It's fun. It's delicious. What's hard is getting sick all the time. What's hard is being chronically sick and always feeling ill and losing your enthusiasm for life. Being healthy is fun. Makes life exciting, right? And I see people putting this into practice every day, transforming their lives. And you know what? It's so incredibly rewarding for me as a physician, and I feel so excited about choosing this career and choosing a career using nutrition as the primary therapy because I see things other doctors don't see. Ronnie Valentine, great guy. Never met him though, but I've spoken to him on the phone. He was overweight, he weighed over 300 pounds, and he had heart disease where he had severe chest pains. He had to go through bypass surgery. Right? His scale said 300 pounds, he told me, but he doesn't know if he weighed 310, 320, or 330. The scale only went up to 300 pounds. Right? Ronnie had bypass surgery, and within 2 years, the chest pains came back again. Right? And you know the studies, the meta-analysis on bypass surgery and angioplasty, the word meta-analysis, it means they pool together many different studies to get more accuracy. And the studies show people undergoing those procedures, they don't live longer. Eventually their pains come back. For Ronnie, he got worse again, had to go through angioplasty after bypass surgery, but it didn't work. Because within 1 month after angioplasty, what happened is the medical term called restenosis. It means the vessels hardened up again, and stenosis or scar tissue formed, and his chest pains came back. He was literally giving up on life at this point. He was just ready to go home and die. He was on medications, multiple drugs to lower blood pressure, multiple drugs to lower cholesterol, drugs to take away chest pain, and still couldn't function. He got fed up. He Googled reversed heart disease or plans, and he found me. And he adopted the program you're learning from me today. And you know what happened? He lost 140 pounds in 1 year. In 1 year, 140 pounds. But that's not the story here. The story here is chest pains are gone. The story here, in a few months, he's feeling good. The story is he's powerful, he's slim, right? He's exercising, running, playing tennis, back to work again. He's got a complete full life. He doesn't need blood pressure medication anymore. Whereas before, on 2 blood pressure medications, his blood pressure was still elevated. Now he's on no blood pressure medication, and his systolic blood pressure is 115, like a child, on no medication, right? His cholesterol, which was high on cholesterol-lowering drugs, now his total cholesterol is about 120. His LDL is about 65 on no cholesterol medication. Wow. He achieved it with excellent nutrition. He knows that the knowledge he learned is going to enable him to stay well for the rest of his life without heart disease. Here's a guy who already went through angioplasty and bypass. And if you speak to him, he'll say to you, he said, this means a lot to me. It means a lot to me because I don't want people to go through what I had to go through in life. I don't want them to have to suffer as much as I had to suffer before I learned I could take control of my health. I could water down this information to make it more acceptable to the mass, to a broad number of people. As a physician, I have to give you the information you need to know so you could take control and so it really works for you. You could choose to smoke cigarettes, do anything you want to hurt your life, but if you want to have a healthy life, let's make sure you have a healthy life. Let's live to be at least 95 years old in great health. Just like my friend Jack Duntrop, a movie producer actually, Jack Duntrop. He had 2 heart attacks before the age of 50. He learned about this program, He adopted excellent nutrition, and he lived to be in his late 90s, and I was playing him tennis, singles tennis in his 90s. He was running around the court like a jackrabbit in his 90s. Lots of people like that, and I see this in my patients. People who have seen me when they're 70s, and now they're in their 80s and 90s, and they're in better health now than they were when they were younger. They don't need doctors, they don't need surgeries, they don't need emergency rooms, right? Now, step 2, eliminating food addictions and your desire to overeat. Because I'll bet that you guys believe that getting back to your ideal weight and staying there is all about eating less and exercising more. Isn't that what most people think? You just eat less and exercise more, right? How long have you tried that without success? Right? Like the last 20 years, right? Because 99% of Americans lose weight, gain it all back again. And you know, when you lose weight and gain it back again, it's worse than never losing it all. Because when you lose weight and put it back again fast, you put back more atherosclerosis, more fat inside the body and inside the blood vessels. The dangerous fat. Here's the thing. Without success, you had trouble. You felt hopeless. You tried it long enough, eventually you just give up the struggle and say, forget it. I'm just going to stay overweight the rest of my life. So many people who've succeeded on this program have felt the same thing, just like you felt. They felt there's no point in trying anymore because it doesn't work anyway, right? Yeah. There's a much simpler way to do it. The simpler way is to focus on eating the right kind of foods that are rich in micronutrients. Teresa was 227 pounds, and now she's 125 pounds. That's a loss of 98 pounds, right? She lost 98 pounds. Most of these people lose the weight. They lose about 100 pounds the first year. And the point what I'm bringing up here with Teresa is she tried almost every diet there was. She's tried high protein, low carb, low fat, pink drinks, all the, and then, you lose a little weight and you gain it back again. Who can maintain that, right? And her dress size went from a size 20 to a size 2. She's proud of herself, My point is the problem isn't you, right? It's not you. It's all the bad information. It's all the bad information that told you to just eat less and you'd lose weight, right? It just doesn't work. Who wants to feel hungry all the time, right? And be constantly in a battle against your body's urges to eat. How can that be maintained? Eventually you get mental breakdown fighting on a diet your whole life. It's always uncomfortable trying to eat less when you feel like eating more. It's like telling you to, I see you breathing there at 14 breaths a minute. Instead of 14 breaths a minute, I want to see you breathe at 10 breaths a minute only. Within 5 minutes, you'll be gasping for air. I can't control the air you need. It's hard for me to control how much food you take in. Your body gives you those signals. Your body is giving you the wrong signals. It's giving you the wrong signals because you haven't met the body's micronutrient needs. This is quite scientific, but the science that explains how this works is quite fascinating. Let me explain it to you. We're going to look at a curve here. And the first curve is called the anabolic part of the curve. Now, the word anabolic means to build. That's the portion of the curve when you're eating and digesting. It's building part of your body. You're breaking down food, and you're turning it into you, so you can absorb it. Like you take the food and you break it down to glucose, so the body absorbs it as glucose, and the body takes the glucose in the bloodstream, and it stores it as glycogen. The stuff that's not burned, it stores it as glycogen. When we need it again, it turns it back to glucose again. You got that? Now, there's two phases of digestion. There's the anabolic phase, and there's the catabolic phase, okay? Anabolic, catabolic, right? The anabolic phase is we're digesting food, and the catabolic phase is when we're living off of what we saved when we digested and stored away the food. That's the food when we're burning it off. It's like you go to the gas station and you fill up your car with gasoline. That's the anabolic, where you're filling it up. And as you're driving the car and burning off the gas, that's the catabolic phase. You following that? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So here's what's happening now. What happens is, in the anabolic phase, when the body is busy digesting, it's storing that food. It's not repairing itself. It's not detoxifying. It's not healing. When it goes into a catabolic phase, when you're not digesting, that's the phase where the body can more effectively heal and detoxify and increase its repair. So very often, when people enter that catabolic phase, they start to feel uncomfortable because the body heightens repair and it circulates toxins for removal. You see, because as we eat food that's not micronutrient rich, as we eat more processed foods, when we eat foods that do not meet our micronutrient needs, we build up free radicals. we build up other toxins like advanced glycation end products called AGEs, right? Lipofuscin, aldehydes, all kinds of toxins build up in the tissues. You don't have to know those things. But when we stop eating and we're in that catabolic phase and the body tries to repair itself, and maybe you'll feel ill. Maybe you'll feel shaky or weak. You're not going to feel that well in the catabolic phase, but you know what makes you feel better? If you eat again and stop the catabolic phase, put you back in the anabolic phase again, right? You'll feel better. Because you feel better, you think it's hunger. I call it toxic hunger because it's feeling uncomfortable when you entered the catabolic phase. And instead of being able to burn off what you stored, instead of burning it off, you feel like eating again to feel better again. Like, just imagine if you were drinking 10 cups of coffee a day. I know you're not, but just make believe you are, okay? You're drinking 10 cups of coffee a day. Or soda, right? And now I tell you, stop the coffee right away. Are you going to feel better or worse? Worse. Worse, right. What's that called? Withdrawal or detoxification. Right. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the American diet is so toxic, it's like drinking 10 cups of coffee a day. It's like snorting cocaine. It's like smoking cigarettes. Actually, obesity is more dangerous than smoking cigarettes. It shortens your life more. You know what the word addict means? We learned in medical school the word addiction. It means that when you take something in that's unhealthy for you, you feel better while you're taking it in. You try to stop it, you feel bad. You can't stop it because you feel too ill if you try to stop it. That's the word addiction. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying the American diet is so addicting, so poor, so unhealthy, that the minute people stop digesting food, even for a short period of time, they feel withdrawal symptoms. They feel what I call toxic hunger. It's toxic hunger. It's not true hunger. Most Americans don't even know what hunger feels like, right? Yeah. Let me finish explaining the science for a minute, because this is pretty interesting. What happens now, remember the sugar was stored as glycogen in the muscle tissues and in the liver? And now, let's say you're eating healthy, and you lose your toxic hunger and your food addiction. So now you enter the catabolic phase, and what do you feel? Nothing. You're fine. Live your life. Fun. Great. I ate. Not hungry anymore. Am I hungry? No. Feel fine. Now I have the chance to burn off that glycogen. And as the glycogen starts to get used up, if I continue not to eat and all the glycogen is gone, what'll happen? Because the brain can only be fueled by glucose, right? As you're sitting here listening to me talk, the brain is utilizing 90% of your caloric needs of the body. And the brain needs glucose to function. You're burning about 50 calories an hour, and about 45 of those 50 calories are being utilized by the brain. When the glycogen, which is turning back into glucose, is all used up, the body can break down muscle tissue to make glucose for the brain. You can't burn fat to make glucose for the brain. You could use the fat for exercise and activity, for other things for the body's needs, but not for the brain's use. The body is going to break down muscle tissue to turn, because it can turn amino acids from the muscle tissue into glucose. You think the body wants to break down your muscle tissue to make glucose to feed the brain? It doesn't want to do that. It would prefer that you eat than break down muscle tissue. So what do you think happens before you start losing any muscle tissue? You get truly hungry. You get real hunger, right? Which is felt in the mouth and throat. And it's accompanied by a dramatic enhanced sense of taste, heightened sense of taste, and it makes food taste great, and it makes eating 10 times more pleasurable than eating when you're not hungry. So here's the thing. Because I'm saying here and trying to explain to you that your body is a precise computer directing you to the exact amount of calories you need to eat each day. Within 25 calories a day, your body knows exactly what to eat to maintain your lean body mass, right? Because hunger is there to protect your lean body mass. Hunger does not exist to put fat on your body. To have gained weight, to have become overweight, you had to have eaten outside of the demands of true hunger. You had to have eaten because of recreation, because of toxic hunger, right? Because of food addiction. When you get put back in touch with the instinctual drives to eat, of when to eat and when not to eat, you don't have to diet, you don't have to measure food anymore, you don't have to weigh anything. Your body's giving you the precise and exact signals of how much food you need to eat to maintain your perfect weight. Sets you free. Never have to diet again. And you know how much food you eat? You eat the amount of food you want to eat. But the amount of food you want is the right amount for you now. You got that? Yeah. All right, so the secret here to great health and your ideal weight is achieving micronutrient adequacy so you get back in touch with true hunger okay? Let's look at Emily, okay? Emily is a woman who lost 100 pounds in 1 year. You know, it wasn't that she lost 100 pounds. That's very important. But she struggled her whole life with severe food addictions. And she'll tell you. She said the food addictions affected my relationship with my children, with my husband. I couldn't join them on camping trips. I couldn't do fun things with them. I had young children. I was literally tied to the house in bad health. She was depressed. She had frequent sinus infections. She had breathing problems and shortness of breath. She had a poor quality of life. Now, look at her. She looks 20 years younger. And you know, if you could see the pictures real closely, you'll see her skin. The color of her skin, the wrinkles of her face, her eyes that are now holding out. It looks like her mother, the way she looked a couple of years ago, right? You know? Let's look at one more person for a minute, okay? Scott. Because Scott lost over 300 pounds. I think he's lost about 330 pounds. It's a lot of weight. He was over 500 pounds. And you know, when Scott lost, at 500 pounds, trying various diets, having cravings and addictions, if you say to Scott, how come all those diets never worked for you? He'll say, because I kept trying to lose weight, and now I'm focused on my health first. And you know what Scott said? It's all about achieving great health, and the weight loss followed effortlessly, and without even trying to get it off. And you know what? He thought he lost all the weight he needed to lose when he got to be 195 pounds. He thought he was at the most favorable weight. He said, look, I've gotten all the weight off. And I said, well, you never know, Scott. Just keep living your life. And now he's 175 pounds, right? He lost another 20 pounds. He wasn't trying to lose more weight. He was just happy with that first, 300 pounds he lost. These are people just like you and me. They're people with the same struggles, living ordinary lives, finding it difficult to live on American food because we've learned the wrong information. We've been confused about good health. Don't you want to be fit and stay fit as you get older? Don't you want to be excited about life? Healthy, right? Really healthy? Free of pain, without the need for medications and all their side effects? Fully living for the years you are living? That's incredible health, right? Look, I'm a board-certified physician, and I've worked in emergency rooms. And clearly medical care is valuable for emergency situations. But if people are falling off a cliff, we don't want to just have ambulances waiting at the bottom to pick them up. We need to put a fence at the top of the cliff to keep people from falling off, right? We want to get rid of people, stop people from falling. And your weight, it's not just about the cosmetic issue. It's not losing weight to look good. Of course, that'll happen. But you have to lose all that disease-causing fat to have a low risk of disease, to have a fun, pleasurable, healthy life. It's all part and parcel. So write this down. This is very important. I want you to write down, the salad is the main dish. I want you to write down the salad is the main dish. I want you to put that right on your refrigerator. Put it up there. The salad is the main dish. So every time you go open the refrigerator, every time you walk by your kitchen, you see the sign, the salad is the main dish. I want you to have a large salad every day. And you know what? I want you to have some seeds and nuts with your salad. Because when you eat a little healthy fat from seeds and nuts, with the salad, you increase the absorption of those phytochemicals and anti-cancer nutrients tenfold more nutrient absorption when you eat a little fat with the salad. So you don't want to snack on nuts. You want to eat it with the meal. Preferably, even make a salad dressing out of them. Let me give you an example, right? I'll take a peeled orange or some orange juice, put it in the blender, throw a handful of raw cashews in, some lightly toasted sesame seeds, maybe a little blood orange vinegar or rice vinegar, maybe a squeeze of lemon in there. Whip it up, churn the blender, make it smooth and creamy. Pour it on a nice, delicious salad, maybe a little strawberries or kiwis and with tomatoes and red onion. Delicious salad. This tastes good. Even the dressing tastes so good you can eat the dressing with a spoon practically. And the dressing is healthy. The dressing protects you against disease as well as the salad. What most people do, they'll put like 3 tablespoons of oil on top with a lot of salt in it and 120 calories a tablespoon. They'll put 390 calories of dressing on 30 calories of vegetables, right? I'll say, then forget the salad, just drink the dressing straight from the bottle. But clearly, this is an exciting way to eat. This is a nutrient-rich diet style. It's not a diet. It puts an end to dieting forever. It's just simple science. And you know what? It's not only science, because we have to consider that we make judgments based on emotions and feelings, not just science and logic. The smoker, they know they should quit smoking. They know it's bad for them, but they don't in some cases, right? Because the primitive part of the brain is saying to them, oh, it's too stressful to quit right now. My son got in a car accident. My husband might be losing his job. I've got stress in my life. I've got this problem. I've got that problem. But you know what? Your life is so much more stressful and difficult to deal with and difficult to solve the problems in your life when you don't have your health. You have to get rid of your addictions. You have to take back control of your life. And there's a few days of getting rid of food addictions and feeling worse, yes. But it's worth it because your whole life after that, food tastes better. You feel better, right? I know. Some of you may think, you may be listening to me out there and you may be saying, you know what, that sounds great and it's really exciting, but that's not for me, you know? It is for you. It's not that hard. It sounds different. Trying to eat more superfoods, trying to eat, instead of dieting, we're trying to eat larger amounts of these high nutrient-rich superfoods. We're going to make them taste delicious. Instead of trying to eat less, it's all about trying to eat more. Take away to get you back in touch with true hunger, make eating taste great, make you feel great. You're going to feel full. You're not going to be hungry, right? You're going to eat as much as you desire now, right? But here, you have to consider this, that a diet made of nutrient-rich, disease-fighting food, it doesn't have to be boring. It can be made to taste delicious. And I've created incredible recipes, and I have people, the best chefs all over the country, incredible world-class chefs wanting to help out because they're excited about this just like you are. And people from all walks of life are doing this now. So the thing here is that you can lose radical amounts of weight without dieting, never gain it back. You can enjoy eating and enjoy life more, enjoy great fitness and great health, and maintain your youthful vigor into your golden years. And this is not a fad or a quick weight loss scheme. It's not about extreme exercise and extreme dieting that can't be maintained. This is something, once you learn about it, you keep it with you forever. It stays in your mind forever. It can never get rid of you. You can never get it out of your mind. It's a knowledge-based program. The knowledge that can set you free from chronic disease, can set you free from dependency on doctors and drugs and invasive surgeries. It can put you back in control of your health destiny. This is for you guys. You know, everybody in America needs to know about this. Now I'm going to tell you about step 3, superfoods for health and pleasure. Now our nation has spent billions and billions of dollars on cancer research looking for a magic pill, and we've nothing to show for it, right? We've hardly put a dent in reducing cancer deaths, but we can win the war on cancer. We can win the war on cancer right now because the answers are right in your local grocery stores and your kitchens. And you can choose these foods that arm your body with heightened defenses against cancer. And these same properties in these superfoods cause you to achieve an ideal weight. Heart disease and diabetes also are easy to prevent and reverse, right? I have so many examples and so much evidence from me and doctors like me who can reverse heart disease with their patients. I mean, just look at this slide. This slide was cut and pasted from the American Heart Association's website. It shows that heart attacks in America 100 years ago hardly even existed. Yet today, it's the leading cause of death in America. Let's consider Julia for a minute. Unfortunately, Julia had 3 heart attacks in 1 year. 3 heart attacks in 1 year. That seems like whatever the doctors did, they couldn't stop it from happening. She was literally sent home to die, and she couldn't leave her house. She couldn't walk more than, from the bedroom right to the bathroom. She couldn't move around that much without having pain. And of course, she was on multiple medications, all the medications she could be on. She was on more than 10 different medications. When she came to me as a patient, she was hopeless. Julia didn't just lose 105 pounds, she got rid of her heart disease. It melted away with proper nutrition, just melted away. This is years ago. She goes to the gym, she goes to exercise class, she shops, she takes care of herself. She got her life back. This high nutrient eating style that I'm teaching you today, that's been in the medical literature, in the medical studies, right? The scientific studies. This was published in the medical journal Metabolism that showed that this way of eating lowers cholesterol more than cholesterol-lowering drugs. You see, but when you lower your cholesterol with superior nutrition, you drop your blood pressure simultaneously without medication. You drop your weight. You increase your ability to be active and exercise. You perfuse your body with all these protective nutrients that reduce inflammation. And inflammation is a big part of the causation chain of heart disease and clots that cause heart attacks, right? It stabilizes the heart and makes it not have arrhythmias. Drugs and surgery are not the answer. A matter of fact, I call those medications that the doctors write on their prescription pads, I call it a permission pad. Because the minute a person has that medication, they have the subconscious now permission. They can just go and live the lifestyle that caused the problem to begin with. They don't even think they have any personal responsibility. The doctor's just taking care of it. We think our savior for good health is to go to more doctors and get more drugs, right? You're going in the wrong direction here, you know? The meta-analysis, meaning the large studies that pool together all the information on, let's say, high blood pressure medications, it shows that the blood pressure medications lower the top number, called the systolic number, but it also, as it does that, it pushes the lower number too low. And as you get older, a lower diastolic is linked to irregular heartbeat and sudden cardiac death. It prevents the blood from getting back to the heart because the diastolic blood pressure gets too low as you put the systolic back in the normal range. The medications are not the answer, right? We need to tell people, sure, medications may lower your risk a little bit, but they're not going to protect you. You want real protection? You have to change the way you eat. Nutritional excellence imparts superimmunity. You don't have sinus infections. You get a viral infection, you bounce out of it in a day, or you don't get sick at all. You have headaches all the time, you don't have your headaches. Breathing, asthma, so prone to allergies, fatigued all the time. Who wants to be sick all the time? Who wants to live your life being dependent on doctors and a whole medicine cabinet full of toxic drugs that make you feel sick? You know, you got to take advantage of this modern science to get incredible health. You only get one life, you only get one body, you don't get another one when you blow it. Protection against cancer, against heart attacks, is related to your weight. And here's the relation. The most powerful anti-cancer foods induce weight loss. You see, a properly fueled body is a miraculous self-healing machine. Let me give you some examples, okay? The studies on mushrooms and onions and berries and green vegetables show dramatic protection against cancer. And this is recorded in the scientific literature. Medical journals like the International Journal of Cancer, like the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. There was a study done recently, about a year ago, published in the International Journal of Cancer, on mushrooms. And they found that women who consumed mushrooms on a regular basis had 64% lower risk of breast cancer. How much mushrooms was that? It wasn't that much. You know, it was 10 grams of mushrooms a day, and 10 grams of mushrooms a day is only like one mushroom. Like one white mushroom is 10 grams a day. You know, don't you think that information should be on the front page of the New York Times? You know, Time magazine? But there's something more here. Because in that same study, they found that the women who ate in the highest quartile of mushroom consumption, the highest amount of mushroom, which was about 10 grams a day, if that group of women who were eating green vegetables simultaneously, like green tea or green vegetables with it, had an 89% reduction in breast cancer. That's just from eating green vegetables and mushrooms. What about the studies on onions? Well, a recent article published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that, and a large European study in 12 different countries in Europe, showed that people who ate the most onions had between 60 and 75% reduction in all major cancers. They reduced colon cancer, they reduced prostate cancer, they reduced breast cancer, they reduced ovarian cancer, just from the higher consumption of onions. You ever cut an onion and it gives off that gas? Well, as the gas is given off, a chemical reaction is occurring, creating these disulfides and anti-cancer nutrients that are formed as you cut that onion. It's like a chemical reaction right in your own kitchen. You could smell and you could feel the effects. There's something else in these mushrooms and onions. We talked earlier about angiogenesis inhibitors and how the word angiogenesis means the growth of blood vessels. Well, when you have angiogenesis inhibitors, it prevents feeding nutrients into tumors and cancers. It doesn't allow them to grow. It prevents cancers from being formed and growing on your body because they prevent those abnormal cells from being fueled. And there's more, because in simple mushrooms are something called aromatase inhibitors. Aromatase is an enzyme that works on body hormones. And the aromatase inhibitors in the mushrooms lower the level of the toxic levels of estrogen that promote breast cancer, and they lower the hormones that promote prostate cancer. In other words, what I'm telling you here is they have multiple effects that get cancer from lots of different angles to protect the body. They induce weight loss, and they protect you against disease. And green vegetables have all types of different systems and different nutrients that put a silicone, like slippery coating on the inside of your blood vessels. They activate something inside the blood vessel called the NRF2 mechanism that prevents plaque from binding, that accelerate the rate at which fat melts away from the inside of your blood vessels. In natural foods, nature already put substances that are supposed to protect you against disease. Your body is already disease-proof. But the problem is, people don't eat those things. They don't consume them, right? All right, let's look at Pam for a minute here, because Pam had metastatic ovarian cancer. She had 4 liters of fluid in her belly and in her lung, and her doctors told her that she had less than 1 year to live, like other people who had similar problems. Pam didn't like that prognosis, right? And I said to her, you know, who knows? Let's do everything we can to see if you could beat this. Don't give up, fight back. You know what? 17 years later, Pam doesn't have cancer anymore. She's well. She's healthy, right? She's vibrant. She's living life. She's a living success story. I'm not claiming every person with advanced cancer can reverse it, but it happened to, I'm seeing it happen to people. Now here's a simple way you could remember the superfoods to prevent cancer. It's called GOMS. Like the word combs, like a comb for your hair, we'll put a G in front of it instead of a C. GOMS, okay? GOMBS, greens, onions, mushrooms, beans, berries, and seeds. GOMBS, greens, onions, mushrooms, beans, berries, and seeds. You got that? Those are the most powerful disease-fighting foods on the planet. And when you eat these foods, you know, we talked about how all these foods protect against disease independently, but when you mix them together in the same diet style, can you imagine the type of cancer protection and disease protection we're going to get here? When I say we're going to win the war against cancer and we can win the war right now, is this some crazy idea that I'm a total flake, right? No, it's putting together the science from the nutritional scientific literature and showing people how they can make it taste delicious, right? How they can enjoy it, how they can be motivated to make the changes so they can protect their health. Because people deserve to know this. They deserve to have incredible health. So look, when you eat these foods, we can retrain the taste buds to like them more. You like what you get used to eating. And when you get great health, your taste buds improve as your whole body improves. Like your smell gets better, your taste gets better. It's part of being in good health is having great, strong taste buds. And you enjoy eating more, not less. Like we can make a great tasting soup on the weekend. You take it for work with you every day. Maybe put some carrot juice in the soup. Put onions and mushrooms in the soup. Put green vegetables in. Put all the spices and herbs and all the ways to make it taste great. Make a knock your socks off, great tasting mushroom, bean, onion soup, right? And you can have nice desserts. Maybe a dessert with frozen strawberries, whipped up into like a sorbet, or a frozen mango, a little coconut. Retrain and strengthen your taste buds and learn to prefer healthy eating, right? Like these other people did. And what happens when people do this? What happens when they have diseases and they do it? They can often get better. Most often they get well. Because the body is always trying to make itself get well again. It's always fighting for your health. The body is there. It's already a self-repairing, self-healing machine if you fuel it properly. We can take this science and we can apply it to have a life that's longer and more pleasurable, that couldn't have happened to our ancestors, that couldn't have happened at earlier points in human history. We didn't know as much as we know now. We're in the nutritional science is advanced, and we can take this new science and apply it in our lives. John Pelikowski has been a patient of mine. He's been a patient of mine since the early 90s. When he came to me at the age of 72, 18 years ago, he had triple vessel disease in his heart. He had blockages in his heart. He had chest pain. The cardiologist did stress tests and angiograms, showed the blockages in his heart, and told him he needed angioplasty. So he followed to the T what I told him to do. He dropped about 30, 40 pounds the first 3 or 4 months. He went back to the cardiologist, said, I'm feeling well. I can walk without pain. The cardiologist said to him, I've never seen a person reverse their heart disease like this. I never saw somebody completely reverse their heart disease without, like you did. Well, why didn't you see a lot of people? I see people like this all the time. As a cardiologist, you should be seeing hundreds of people that reverse their heart disease through natural means. You don't see it because you don't know about it to apply it. Everybody's got to know about this. Right? And here's why I'm telling you about John. He didn't just get rid of his heart disease, which of course is gone, but he's been my patient now for the last 18 years after he got rid of his heart disease. And now he's 90 years old. And now he's chopping wood in his backyard. He's climbing the roof on ladders, repairing the roof of his house. He's physically fit, slim, fit, in great shape at 90, and he's not near the end of his life. And he doesn't have heart disease. It's not from aging. Water runs off a waterfall and hits a rock. And after 20,000 years, the rock splits in two and breaks apart. The water hit the rock, and eventually it wore it down, right? Well, that's how these diseases occur. That's how heart disease occurs. You stress that body out day after day, week after week, month after month. The American diet took its toll on you over all those years. But just like John Pelikowski, the minute he changed his diet, he starts getting better and better and better as time goes on. As he's getting older, he's getting healthier. This is what we see from studies around the world. We see that primitive cultures with long-lived populations, their most elderly members of those populations have the same blood pressure as children in the same area, in the same tribe, or in the same group. In other words, it's not natural to have blood pressure rise as you age. That's unnatural. It's not natural to develop heart disease as you get older. That's unnatural. Why don't you achieve incredible health, right? You can do this. These people aren't superheroes. They're not like people with willpower of iron that nobody could do this. Every one of these people I'm showing you, there are hundreds of people like that and thousands all over the country who've achieved a personal victory through this type of program. This personal victory for yourself, for your family, and people, and you relive that victory every day. You relive that victory because people look at you and they use you as a role model, and you affect other people around you. And they think that if you can do it, I can do it too. And you get that secondary victory from the positive effect you have on people in your own environment. It makes your life incredibly valuable. And remember here, never forget that your health is your greatest wealth. I'm wishing you a long and pleasurable life. It can be yours. Thank you.